What's up guys? Welcome back to another How We Do It video. I'm Isaac Lakich, professional angler and fisherman. Today we're gonna do the A to Z of how to pour a jig, and we're gonna be doing that with our Midwest Finesse mold. So, what's the first thing we do? We're gonna plug in our melter. We've got this plugged in. It's been heating up for a little while. Our lead is at the temperature that we want it to be at. Next step's gonna be to preheat our mold. One of the ways you can preheat your mold is when you plug in your melter, you can leave this mold on top of the pot. That's gonna help that mold get up to temperature so that we get a nice smooth pour every single time. Next thing we can do is what we like to call dry firing. What that is I'm gonna fill all of the cavities without any sort of components in it to try to bring that mold up to temperature. It's super simple and easy. As you can see, our lead is flowing well. So I'm gonna just go to each cavity and fill it up to the top. Again, there's no components in here. We're gonna pop this open. I'm looking at them, making sure, yep, every mold cavity has been filled correctly. This mold's now ready to add some components. So we're gonna pop all these blanks out. I'm gonna toss those back into our pot. And now it's time to load up this mold with a few of our components so that we're ready to pour. I'm gonna take my gloves off for this because I'm working with a small hook keeper in this mold and it's just a little bit easier. I'm gonna just be a little careful because the mold is warm, so I'm gonna kind of drop that jig in and just use the very, very light touch of my finger to orient it where I need it to be in the mold. Grabbing a couple of these small little hook keepers, they're gonna drop right into the mold as well, right next to the hook, and that's what's gonna help keep your plastic, whether it's your Ned rig or swim bait or whatever type of lure you're using in this situation with this jig head, that's gonna help keep the bait on your hook correctly. So now that this is all loaded up with the amount of jigs I want to pour, I'll put the gloves back on. I'm going to take this and make sure that it closes nice and securely. We're looking for a nice snapping sound. That means that our mold is connected securely, and we're going to put this under here and fill these up right away. Now that our jigs have cooled off, it's time to pop them out of the mold and cut off all the sprues. When you do this, what you're going to want to do is actually grab these jigs as you pull them out of the mold by the sprue. That way you don't bend your hook or cause any damage to any of the other components you might have on the jig. I'm gonna pop those out, and we're gonna go through and use the shears to clip off all these sprues. After we've clipped those sprues off, I'm gonna just clean these jig heads up a little bit before we're ready to paint. A quick file job on each of these heads is gonna ensure that this jig head stands upright, nice and properly, and doesn't lean from side to side. Now we're ready for some paint. Grab a few of my tools and supplies here to help paint a little bit better. And we're gonna paint some black jigs today. Gonna get my torch started. I like to grab my jig head by the eye. When I'm rotating this jig through the torch, I like to, again, move it back and forth so I don't overheat it and melt the jig. And then a quick dunk, a little tap, and we've got some color. I'm gonna do that with the rest of these, and then they'll all be ready to go in the oven for 20 minutes at 350 degrees to bake that paint on there well and make sure that it's fully cured so that you get a nice tough finish that won't chip or break. If you guys have any other questions about any of the information that you saw in this A to Z video on our Midwest Finesse Jig, whether it's how to pour, any of the components or parts that you see, head over to our YouTube page, check out the other videos that we've done, and we'll see you guys out on the water.